Hi, I'm Coach Michael Burt. To get a free copy of my book, Inside the Mind of a Monster, text 678-506-7543. Text to get a copy of my book, Inside the Mind of a Monster, and I'm going to turn you into a legendary creature. All right, good morning. Good morning, good morning. What I want to do is as we enter into this, if you want to just put your mute button, I know we've got a lot of people on here today, and if you want to just put your mute button, and that way we don't have any background noise. My name is Coach Michael Burt. You're going to pick up very quickly because I know you guys are all over the world that I have a strong Southern accent, and that Southern accent is outside of Nashville, Tennessee, music capital of the world where I live. And I am at my greatness factory this morning where I believe we manufacture greatness. And for a decade of my life, I was a high school girls basketball coach, and moms and dads used to drop their daughters off to me at 14 years old, and they all said the same thing: Coach, my daughter's got a lot of potential, right? And potential is just kinetic energy that is stored until utilized. It is an idea of embryonic growth that we'll be better today than we were yesterday. We'll be better tomorrow than we were today, that we will never stop getting better unless we choose to stop getting better. And many people, unfortunately, choose to stop getting better. So today I'm going to be coaching you some on one of my most powerful concepts, which is how to build, maintain, and protect your greatest asset, which is your confidence. I want to show you I want to teach you how to think about confidence as a science. All 7 billion people on planet Earth are affected by confidence. Confident people want risk and opportunity. Insecure people always, don't miss this, always move to a place of comfort and complacency. When you're confident, you take risk. When you're insecure, you move to places of comfort and security. Okay, so I want to show you. How to have an unbreakable. Okay, I want to show you how to have an unbreakable. All right, let me get rid of that feedback right there. Somebody's got if you'll just mute real quick for me, that'll be great. Thank you. Now, I was raised by a single mother who had me when she was 16 years old in a small town in Tennessee, and she was tough. And when I say tough, I mean tough. She wouldn't let me miss a day of school. She made me get dressed up every day and always said, when we're going to show up, we're going to grow up, and we're going to deliver. We don't whine, we don't complain, and we don't make excuses. And I growing up, guys, I hated that. I was like, well, so-and-so gets to miss school, and why can't I sleep in today? And why can't I do that? And what was powerful is when I was 40 years old, I was on the road for maybe 14 or 16 days. I'd been in 16 different cities. I was trying to sell millions of dollars worth of coaching. I was tired. I was exhausted. I wanted to whine. I wanted to complain. I wanted to make excuses. And then I remembered what my single mother taught me, which is we don't whine, we don't complain, we don't make excuses. I picked up the phone and I called my mother and I said, thank you for conditioning me to have a mindset. And I want to give you that mindset today. Okay. And the mindset is really 3 mindsets that I want every person on this to have. Number 1 mindset: we go to bed tired and we wake up hungry. We go to bed tired and we wake up hungry. Notice I didn't say we go to bed well fed, right, Brandon Johnson? We don't go to bed well fed and wake up tired. Okay, we go to bed exhausted because we left it all on the court. We left it all on the field. We put the work in. We worked the muscle. The second principle I live by is it all goes to zero at midnight. It all goes to zero at midnight. No matter how much money you have during this cycle, during this period of time, here's what everybody's figured out. It ain't enough money. It ain't enough money. No matter how much you have, no matter how much money I have tied up in real estate and millions of dollars of real estate, in my coaching business, in my investments, here's the number one thing I would tell you: it ain't enough money. It ain't enough money. So what's the rule? No matter how much you have, you got to trick your brain. And you got to trick your brain into believing one thing: it all goes to zero at midnight. It all starts back over every single day. The third principle you got to live by, guys, is there comes a time when winter asks what you did all spring and summer. And this is so important as a salesperson. This is so important because winter's coming whether you're ready for it or not. Now, during this pandemic, I go to the #1 energy doctor, I think, in the world. He's in Houston, Texas. 41,000 people have gone to him to keep their energy high. Lots of celebrities, authors, big time people that work hard every day go to this one person. And I interviewed him during this period. And I said, what do we need to know about this pandemic? What do we need to know about this virus? And he kept coming back to one thing. He kept coming back to your immune system. And he said, a healthy person with a strong immune system has been exposed to viruses their entire life. But what happens is, because their immune system is so strong, they fight those viruses off. And as he was talking, I kept thinking, your business has an immune system. And the way it has an immune system is if you have activated your prey drive, something we'll touch on today. You have a world-class explanation of services. You are working a selling system every day. You can't control the response. You can only control the stimulus. You are following up like a fanatic. You're working a great follow-up system. You are trying to extract referrals out of your current clients. And you are trying to become a person of interest in the world. Those are 6 things that build a healthy immune system in your business. And if your immune system is strong, when any external attack happens, you have the strength to fight through it. You have the reserves to fight through it. You have the tenacity to fight through it. Why? Because you're healthy. Your business is healthy. Your sales are healthy. Your life is healthy. So the way I think about this concept is adversity is a departure away from the ideal scene, meaning we had an idea of how this was going to go. It didn't go the way we thought it was going to go. Now what? We can't control the response. We can only control the stimulus. All we can control is how we prepare. All we control is how we grow our skills. All we can grow is how we get better. All we can grow is what we learn. All we can control is how we pivot. So when you think about this concept, most people don't live by the 3 principles I just told you. They don't all go to 0 at midnight. They don't go to bed tired and wake up hungry, right? And the third thing is, when you think about it, they don't have this mindset of attack every single day. They don't think winter's coming, so they just live any way they want to, and they don't understand that an adversity could come. So when you're selling, I want you to think like this. And I learned this very, very early in life, as early as 6 years old. That single mom used to take me down to a local baseball field, and I would spend time with a baseball coach who was a female baseball coach named Mickey Vinson. And at 6 years old, Mickey Vinson said, son, one of these days you're going to be a great coach. She saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. How many of you got to where you are today because somebody saw something in you that you didn't even see in yourself? They affirmed and validated your worth and potential in so clear a way you begin to see it in your own self. In essence, when you didn't have any confidence, you borrowed confidence from them. How many of you believe, raise your hand if you believe you can borrow confidence from other people when you don't have any? Yeah. See, if Simon's low on confidence, he can click on a Coach Burt video. He can borrow confidence from me. He can borrow, when you're low on confidence, you can actually borrow it from somebody else until you get yours, right? And too many people don't do this. So at 6 years old, I had a big revelation. And the revelation was everybody needs a good coach in their life. For you to sell your service to other people, if you have not had a revelation about how that service can help people and why it's vital to help people and why, then you'll never have the second part. You'll never have the conviction you need. You'll never have the conviction you need to overcome objection. You'll never have the conviction you need to make the calls. You'll never have the conviction that you need to push through. You'll never have the conviction that you need because why? Because you hadn't had a revelation. How many of you have been in the presence of a salesperson that you knew didn't believe in their product or service? Right? Now think about it. Okay, there was a person calling on me the other day, telemarketer, and halfway through the call, I said to him, let me ask you a question. And he said, sure. I said, you don't even believe in your product or service, do you? And he goes, you're right, I don't. And I knew he didn't believe in his product or service because he didn't have any conviction. See, right now, what you're selling, you're not selling a product or service, you're selling a conviction. You're selling a set of beliefs. You're selling that you're going to be better off with me in your life than you are with somebody else in your life. You're selling an outcome. You're not selling a product or service. I constantly tell my sales team, quit selling a coaching program. Sell a result. Sell that with Coach Burt in your life, you're going to get a 43% increase. Sell with Coach Burt in your life, you're going to have more confidence than you've ever had. right? Sell with Coach Burt in your life. You're going to be a person of advancement. That's because everybody needs a good coach in their life. When did I learn that? 6 years old. Now, if you can sense my conviction right now, if you can feel my conviction through this computer, some of you in other parts of the world, if you can feel my conviction, guess why? It's because I had revelation when I was 6 years old. For 37 years, I believe that a good coach can change a person's life. 37 years. That's why I'm so strong. That's why if you saw me speak at 10X, you could feel my conviction no matter where you were in the room. You could feel it. Okay? You could feel that I believe it. Now, let me ask you a question. When you go out to the world and you're selling your product or service, could I feel, just being in your presence, just being on a Zoom call with you, how much conviction you have that this is the right thing to do? This is the right investment. This is the right play. So when you have revelation, after revelation, you move to what's called conviction. After conviction, you are willing to do whatever it takes, guys. You are literally willing to do whatever it takes. Now, I realize in your industry that selling to airlines, selling to different people, it seems very hard right now. What if I told you there is no wasted movement right now? Let me tell you what I mean by that. There is no wasted phone call. There is no wasted email. There is no wasted follow-up. There is no wasted engagement with the current client. Everything you do, because we don't know where the next big deal is going to come from. What if I told you two of the largest contracts I ever signed in my whole career? One came from, I did a workshop one night and 2 people showed up at the workshop. 2. And they paid $40 a piece to come. And my assistant came to me and she said, Coach Burt, there's only 2 people here. Why don't you just cancel the workshop? But I didn't. I gave them everything I had. One of those people was a CEO of a $40 to $50 million company. And she came up to me afterward and said, you're exactly what we've been looking for. And they signed me to a 4-year deal, one of the largest contracts I ever signed, all because I showed up when 2 people were there. There is no wasted movement. Karsten Morgan, you hear what I'm saying, you brother? There is no wasted movement because you don't know where the next big deal is going to come from. Okay? The second biggest deal I had, I spoke at a big conference, a big insurance conference, and Simon, I was terrible. I was absolutely terrible. My PowerPoint wouldn't work. I couldn't get in a rhythm. I had to come off the stage into the audience. We didn't sell $10 worth of books that day. Okay. We didn't sell anything. We didn't sell any shirts. We didn't sell it. And I left that weekend thinking, oh my gosh, I was so bad. I couldn't get in a rhythm. I couldn't show up. And on Monday morning, one of those people in that audience called me and said, Coach, we saw you on Saturday at the conference. We loved you. They signed a $350,000 contract for me to be their coach. And I'm sitting there thinking, how did you love me when I was so bad? The point is I showed up and I worked the muscle and I had enough conviction to overcome how bad I was that day. See, I can feel your conviction. Victoria, when you're on the phone with people, I can feel it. I can sense it. So have you had the revelation? Do you have the conviction? And do you have the action? And are you willing to take the action? And will you for a second quit worrying about the response? You can't control the response. All you can control is the stimulus. All you can control is the stimulus. Okay? Because I guarantee if you uncover enough rocks, you will find a deal. If you uncover enough rocks, if you talk to enough people, if you work the muscle, if you keep showing up, other people will be inspired by what you're doing. And other people want to move towards you. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing as we move toward confidence. You want to give off. I go back to The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And if you've never read that book, it was written in 1910. Many of you have read Think and Grow Rich. You've read How to Win Friends and Influence People. You read some of the greats. But one of the greatest books on generating money is a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, written in 1910. And I think it's chapter 14. I bet I've read that chapter at least 100 times. It talks about the impression of increase. When you give off that you are a person of advancement, I call it a person of interest. And I wrote a book on this called Person of Interest. When you give off to the world that you are a person of advancement, you're moving, you're shaking, you're circulating, you're creating, you're forming strategic partnerships, you're talking to people, you're following up, you're doing interesting things in the world. You give off this impression to the world that that is a person I want to be associated with. I want to be attached to that person, because when I'm with that person, I think bigger. My confidence is stronger. I see a bigger world. I want to go to more places. I want to do more things. Now, here's the principle. You can't give me what you don't have. I have seen two types of people, Simon, during this period, and I've coached thousands of people over 28 years. Option A has been the person who has whined, pouted, complained, felt sorry for themselves, blamed everybody else, talked about how it can't work, talked about how nobody's buying anything. That is one group of people I have seen during this period. And there's a lot of those people, folks. 7 billion people on planet Earth. Many of them have not been conditioned to handle any adversity whatsoever. And what has really broken my heart is how quickly people have given up, how quickly people give in, how quickly people quit working the system that made them successful. Then I have seen another group of people who when they meet adversity, their prey drive, P-R-E-Y, D-R-I-V-E is activated. They come out of the gate swinging. They go to bed tired and wake up hungry. They can't wait to get in the fight. They're in the arena every single day. They don't have time to criticize other people. They're in the arena fighting every day. What are they doing? Working the sales system, following up, not using any excuses, not whining. You got to decide which one of those two people you're going to be, guys. Okay? And I've seen both. I've seen both in my own family. I've seen people that's woken up and said, what can we do? Nothing's going to work. I've seen people on my own team believe that. I've seen people that I've been close to that I thought were substantial people just fold quickly. And you got to make up your mind which one of those two people you're going to be. Are you going to contract and retreat? Are you going to expand? And expansion is not always investing money or spending money. Expansion of effort. I've done more Instagram, more Facebook, more interviews, more videos, more partnerships, more talking to my current clients. I've done more of everything in multiples because of this, okay? Because I have a mindset. It's going to be a fight, but dadgummit, I'm going to find a way to win. And when you have that mindset, it's going to be a fight, but I'm going to find a way to win. You wake up every day and say, you know what? I tried that. It didn't work. That's okay. It's just an idea. Some ideas work and some ideas don't work. So let's talk about how this affects your confidence. Because I'm going to give you 3 definitions of confidence. Insecure people, if you study Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization, I would ask you guys, in your lifetime, how many people you have been in the presence of that you thought were self-actualized? And I bet it's less than 5 people in your entire life. In my lifetime, I've been around 3 people that I said, that dude, there is no higher cylinder for that dude to be operating on. He is operating at his maximum human potential in body, in mind, in heart, in spirit, all 4 parts of his nature. And when you get in the presence of people that are operating at that freaking level, you want to be around them. It doesn't matter what they're selling, you're buying. So when you think about confidence, when you study self-actualization, did you know that there's X number of traits of self-actualized people, 13 to 18 traits of self-actualized people, which should be the goal of every person, by the way, to actualize the human potential they've been given, the kinetic energy that they have. One of the traits of a self-actualized person is they are totally independent of the good opinion of others. They are totally independent of the good opinion of other people. That means you cannot control my confidence unless I allow you to. No external factor can control my confidence. The economy can't control my confidence. The government can't control my confidence. My staff can't control my confidence. My wife can't control my confidence. My children can't control my confidence. The only person that controls my confidence is me. I am independent of the good opinion of others. And let me tell you why. When I spoke at 10X, 10,000 people, there were some people that loved me. There were some people that liked me. Some people didn't like me. Some people, right? Don't matter. I'm only looking for people that are looking for me. I'm only looking for people that are looking for me. And with 7 billion people, 16% of the people are looking. Okay? Now, let me give you some traits on confidence, and I want to take some Q&A. Here's my definitions of confidence. Number 1, confidence is the memory of success. Raise your hand if at some point you've been successful in this role that you're in currently right now. Raise your hand if you've had some success. Thank you, Tim. Okay? Thank you, Mateo. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Greg. Because at some point, so if you've done it before, let me ask you a question. If you've been successful before, confidence is the memory of success. Anytime I'm feeling low on confidence, I go back to a moment in my life where I was incredibly successful. the night I won a championship as a basketball coach, and there were 10,000 people cheering for us. And I was standing in the middle of that court, and it took me 10 years to get there. The night I was on stage at 10X speaking to 10,000 people. I go back to those moments, and I have these images because we have pictures of those, and we put them in key places. And anytime I go low on my confidence, I go right back to those moments. And I go, no, 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 no. You're not an insecure person. Look at what you did. You won a championship. You built a multi-million-dollar company. You've raised an incredible daughter, right? You've been so successful in your life. Confidence is the memory of success. See, when you lose your confidence, you focus on your failures. You don't focus on your successes. Okay? And here's what I would tell you. Progress is just as important as perfection. As long as we're making progress every day, you need to get out of the perfectionism trap. Perfectionism leads to procrastination. It ain't perfect. It don't fit in the box like I wanted it to. It didn't come the way I wanted it to. I'm interested in progress versus perfection. So one definition of confidence is the memory of success. The second definition of confidence is it is an internal knowing that you can create or manifest what you see in your mind. You can create or manifest what you see in your mind. You see, you may look at things and go, well, I could never do that. That's for them, but not for me. Like, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not whatever. And what you start saying is you don't have this internal knowing that you can create or manifest what you see in your mind, although you see somebody else do it. There will be more millionaires made during this period, guys. There's more millionaires made during recessive periods of our society than almost any other period in the world. I started my coaching business in the middle of the recession of 08, when people said nobody's spending any money. I was signing bigger contracts in 08 then because I didn't have any consideration. And a consideration is a thought. It's an internal thought, like nobody's spending money. Nobody's buying anything. Why should I make the phone call? Nobody's answering. Well, I didn't have any of those when I started because I was young and dumb and I was naive. And it was one of the best things in the world I could ever be, because people would ask me how much it costs. And I'd say it costs this much. And they'd go, okay. 3 years into my coaching career, I started having all these considerations. Well, what if they can't afford it? Oh, they won't pay that much money. Oh, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. Then my own brain tricked me into believing that I should have all these considerations, which are internal thoughts. When I first started, I didn't have any of those. I would just ask. I had the guts to ask. I wasn't scared at all. I had no consideration. I had confidence this high. Then over a couple of years, you get beat down a little bit and you start making these concessions. Maybe we should discount our services. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they can't do it. I saw a guy at an airport once, and this was my own pitiful thinking. And he came up to me and he said, Coach, I want to buy X number of copies of your book. And he looked rough. He looked incredibly rough. Looked like he hadn't slept in days. Looked like life had beat him up. He said, I want to buy a copy of the book for every one of my employees. And the first words out of my mouth is, I can't give you a discount, man. I can't give you a discount unless you buy a bunch of books. Do you know that he turned out to be a multimillionaire that I didn't even know? And I made a judgment that he didn't have any money. And the first words out of my mouth was, man, I can't, I wish I could give you a discount on the books, but I can't. He said, I didn't ask you for a discount. I asked you to buy a bunch of your books for my employees. Now I want you to think how dumb that was. What kind of consideration? How many of you have been guilty during this period of having these considerations? Raise your hand if you've had considerations during this period. Okay. All of us have. Some of you have not asked. Some of you have not made the call. Some of you have not made the follow-up because in your mind, you've already decided that it ain't going to work during this period. That is a consideration. Okay. That is a consideration. And until you remove these considerations, you never reach your full potential, because big time people are not afraid to ask. Big time people are not afraid to close. Big time people are not afraid to follow up. Okay. If you gave me the number of any person on planet Earth today, I would call them with no hesitation whatsoever. I don't care how much money they have. I don't care where they come from. I don't care what they've done in their life, because I have removed every consideration in my life, which is an internal thought that prohibits an action. If they can do it, I can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So confidence is this internal knowing that you can create or manifest what you see in your mind. And finally, confidence is distributing your talent to the world, and the world giving you love back in return. See, I actually believe you get paid in multiple ways. You don't just get paid in money, right? Money is a byproduct of value creation. What about getting paid in love and appreciation and validation right? And personal satisfaction and affirmation and referrals and reputation. I actually believe there's 6 ways you get paid. Okay. One of the best things that ever happened to me, I spoke at a conference once and a person came up to me and he said to me, I don't have any money. I'm completely broke. I may even go bankrupt. He said, but coach, he says, I can't buy any of your books and I can't get in your coaching programs. He said, but I want to tell you something. I'm interested in you and you changed my life today. And because of you, I got some fight in me that I didn't have when I woke up this morning. And I went home and I told my wife that night, I got paid today. That was one of the best things that could ever happen. I got paid. And I didn't care if he didn't give me $1, guys. When you create enough value in the world, money will follow you all the way to the bank. Money changes hands when problems are solved. The bigger the problem, the more money people pay to solve that problem. When you're following up with people, what you should be doing is not selling them some service or product. You should be selling them a solution. You should be making your case for why you can solve their problem better than anybody else. Okay, that's all selling is, solving problems. So let me go through just a few things and I want to take some Q&A. Number 1, confidence can be built. Confidence can be built. Confidence, you build confidence through repetition. We used to make our basketball players shoot 500 shots a day. And that was after practice. Do you know how long it takes to shoot 500 shots? It takes a couple of hours. That was after we had spent 3.5 hours in the weight room practicing individual meetings, pre-practice meetings, post-practice meetings, small group work, leadership academy. Then they had to shoot 500 shots. And you know what happens when you shoot 500 times? Muscle memory happens. Repetition happens. You become great. And it becomes so obvious to you that you don't even have to think. You see what I'm saying? Like, no thinking is involved. Thinking is a liability once you get in the game. If you haven't practiced, now let me show you 4 areas that people don't practice in business. Okay? They don't have the content that they need. They don't have repetition every day. They don't role play enough, and they don't test enough. Okay? Now, you guys have heard of Brad Lee. Brad Lee's a good friend of mine, and he and I agree on this concept. Training is not something you did one day. It's not something you went to one time. It's not something you did one day of a week. The military trains every day. World-class Olympians train every day. Big-time people train every day. Okay? Small-time people they train every now and then. They go to a conference. They go to a workshop. They get exposed. My people train 6 segments a day in my online academy every day. Then I meet with them 3 times a day to coach them. Then I'm coaching them one-to-one. Then I'm coaching them as a group. Like, if you work with me, you're going to get trained and trained and trained and coached and coached and coached and corrected and corrected and corrected, because mastery doesn't come by just doing something, folks. Mastery comes with deliberate practice with a coach. Study what Robert Greene's work on mastery. 10,000 years. People think 10,000 hours or 10 years. Oh, I'll become a master at something if I just do it for 10 years. No. 10 years with practice, with repetition, with a coach, with correction. That's how you master something, okay? So confidence is built on repetition. We call it muscle memory. Confidence is built on preparation. By Sunday night at 7 p.m., every person in my company has to turn into me what they're going to do this week to create and manifest their goals. Okay, every person has goals. Every person has targets that they're trying to hit. And by Sunday night at 7 p.m., they turn into me what they're going to do this week to hit those goals. Now, at first, they resisted. And they said to me, well, Coach Burt, we know you spend 2 to 4 hours every Sunday planning, but why should we spend 2 to 4 hours planning? And I said, do you want to go pro or do you want to remain an amateur? Because pros spend time in preparation. I spend 2 to 4 hours every week just planning. Just preparing. Who's on my hit list? Who's in my farm club? Who's in my top 25? What customers am I going after? What new markets can I go after? How do I create and manifest my goals this week? That's a professional. Amateurs roll into the week, no plan, no strategy. They haven't self-sourced any leads. They don't have a hit list. It takes them till Wednesday to get cranked up. They've wasted that's an amateur. At some point, guys, you got to leave your amateur desires behind and you got to make a decision to go pro. How do professionals prepare? Okay. A lot of people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. I would tell you, when you get in the room, you better know. We did almost $1 million of new business when I spoke at 10X in an hour. Now, let me ask you a question. If I got on stage and I was terrible and I couldn't connect with people and I hadn't worked my whole life and I hadn't prepared, we would have blown that opportunity, which is exactly what some of those people did, by the way. They blew an opportunity when they got in front of 10,000 people. They winged it. They didn't prepare. I probably practiced that presentation 100 times before I got on stage. The rhythm, the cadence, the movement. And then I pivoted when I needed to. Why? Experience. Confidence can be built through preparation. When you're prepared, you feel confident. And the third piece is execution. Confidence can be built through execution. Do you follow through? How many hours are you spending prospecting every day? How many follow-up touches do you have? How many times do you engage with your current clients? So once you build it, how do you maintain it? You maintain it through proper expectations. It's going to be a fight every day, but we're going to win. What you did last year don't matter. Success don't care what you did yesterday. It only cares what you do today, right? It's like the old saying, success is not something you own, it's something you rent. And that rent's due every single day, right? So how do we maintain our confidence? Proper mindset, proper expectation. Number 2, routine. If you have allowed this period to get you out of a routine, if you typically get up at 5:30 in the morning and now you're getting up at 6:30, if you typically get dressed and now you're not getting dressed, if you typically make calls from this time and you're not making calls, what's happened is you've gotten out of a routine. Your heart beats in a rhythm. Life happens in a rhythm. When you get out of rhythm, you get yourself into trouble. Okay, I was a high school coach for a decade. Kids get into trouble between 3 and 6 p.m. And you know why? Because they don't have any supervision. Do you know when adults get into trouble? When they don't have any supervision. Okay, and when they just have a bunch of time to do whatever they want to, because left to our own devices, we contract and retreat. So, final piece. How do you get your confidence back once you've lost it? Guys, at 25 years old, I lost every bit of my confidence. The confident person you see today that wrote a book on confidence, at 25 years old, I lost every bit of my confidence. I was clinically depressed for 6 months, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't eat, threw up every morning, all because I gave all of my confidence to another person, a female. I thought I was going to marry this person and bought an engagement ring. Between the time I bought the ring and gave her the ring, we broke up. I was completely devastated. I was clinically depressed while I was a head coach, coaching people every day. And up until that point in my life, I thought depression was a weakness. I thought people who got depressed were weak. And then I personally experienced that depression. And I had to fight my way out of it. So for 6 months, I studied confidence, bounce back. How do I get my swag back? How do I get back in a rhythm? How do I use this for good? This is the raw material I need to be something great. And I came out of that probably a year later with a confidence like you can't imagine, because I used that period to get so much stronger in my body, in my mind, in my heart, in my spirit. I made up my mind that nothing external would ever control my confidence again the rest of my life. I would never put my confidence in the hands of another person. I would always put my destiny in my own hands. I would never allow another person to stand between me and my destiny. And I have lived to that over the last 17, 18 years of my life, guys. That's been my philosophy. That's been my number one thing. So I diversify my confidence, meaning I don't put all of my confidence in one thing. If all of my confidence is tied up in my work, what happens if we go a day to day and we don't sell anything? We don't have a good day. What if we lose a client? What if people complain? What if something happens? And all of my confidence is tied up in my work. I go home low on confidence. I take it out on my wife. I take it out on my daughter. I take it out on myself. I go to bed frustrated versus just going to bed tired. What if all of my confidence is tied up in what my wife thinks about me today? And maybe she didn't like me much today. What if my kid acted up this morning before I came into work and all my confidence is tied up in my family? You see, I can't allow one stream to control my confidence. So I diversify my confidence. Body, workout, mind, mental training, heart, emotional training, relationships, spirit, spiritual connection. And I feed that confidence in about 8 to 12 different ways. Because here's what I know. On any given day, 4 of those ain't working. 4 of them ain't working, but it's okay, because guess what? I got 4 to 6 more things that are going good. Anytime I get down, I'm like, no. Look at what's going good over here. Look at what's going good over here. Look at what's going. See, diversify your confidence. That's been the number one things that I've done over the last 17 years, because I made the mistake one time of putting all of my confidence in one bucket. And when that bucket wasn't working, I was a wreck, man. And I said, I'm never doing this again. Even if a relationship goes bad, it's okay. Some will, some won't. So what? I'm going to keep on moving. I'm only looking for people that are looking for me. There is no such thing as rejection. Some will want what I have. Some don't want what I have. And that's okay. 7 billion people. There's enough people. There's enough money and opportunity to go around. There is no shortage of money. There is no shortage of opportunity. There is a shortage of courage and a shortage of creativity and a shortage of confidence. That's the only shortage we see on planet Earth. Okay. So thank you for letting me be with you this morning. I'm open to any question you want to ask me about anything. Nothing is off the table. Okay. Last night I did a podcast and the guy asked me probably the best questions I've ever been asked. He said, I don't want to know about your story. I've heard that 100 times. I want to know the real Coach Burt. How do you think? What scares you? What fears do you have? So now let's open it up to some questions, Simon, and take any questions you got.
Can I ask you the first question? I'll fire it off while you guys are building up your ideas. You coached a basketball team and you were successful for 5 or 6 years?
10 years.
10 years, right? So there's a lot of people in lots of teams here. What tips, how do you keep a team that in that high performance for such a long period of time? Because that's the question they're asking themselves when they come back. How are we going to not only perform, but how are we going to overperform?
When you think about teams, teams are very difficult. You're combining different people's mindsets, personalities, wants, desires. Now I do disc profiling. Now I understand motivators of people. Now I understand what fears they have. Back in the old day, I didn't have any of that, Simon. What I did is I, as the leader, controlled the culture. And I had a couple theories. We encourage what we allow. We allow people to be late, they'll be late. We allow people to be lazy, they'll be lazy. I encouraged a lot of positive peer pressure, meaning it wasn't individualistic. If one person didn't perform, it hurt everybody. And I taught them that value. I taught every player the 7 habits of highly effective people. I also taught them the principles of good to great. But one of the most important things I taught them was the 5 dysfunctions of teams. And anytime we violated those dysfunctions, absence of trust, fear of conflict, avoidance of accountability, lack of commitment, status or ego, anytime we violated one of those things that would hurt us, we addressed it immediately. Now, here's what's interesting. I was so tough and disciplined with those high school basketball players, and they were tough. And here's what's funny, Simon. When I started coaching adults, guess what I found out? They weren't even close. They weren't even close to as tough as those high school kids were. I actually had to soften up and temper my coaching for adults because they weren't tough enough. They'd break down and start crying. They wanted to quit anytime you gave them negative feedback. You couldn't be critical of them. Very few of them wanted to go to the next level. I mean, it was really a sad thing for me to see. So I would tell you, when you come back, set clear expectation of people. Get everybody in a rhythm and structure. For example, we prospect every day from 9 to 11:30. We eat lunch. We meet again at 12:30, and we prospect again from 1 to 4:30 every day. There's a clear definition of targets. There's a clear definition of how many calls they need to make. There's a clear definition of expectation. Okay. Now, if I don't hold them accountable to that and there is no consequence to their behavior, where there's no consequence, there's no change of behavior. So there's positive consequence and there's negative consequence. But one of the things I do is build a very high degree of personal responsibility in my culture. Meaning I go to, is it Tark? I go to Tark and I say, look, or Steve, I say, look, you're not doing this for me. You're doing it for you and your family and your future. So how are you going to justify your behavior today when you told me you wanted to make this much money? You told me you wanted to go pro. You told me you were going to prepare. All of the stimulus is coming from me. So I built incredible expectation. I'm intense and positive, meaning I don't go negative very much. I push people, but I do it in a positive way. And I want to activate their prey drive. My number one job as the coach is to activate the prey drive in the individual. And there's 5 or 6 ways you activate that prey drive. Most coaches are very poor at coaching. They don't have a structure. They don't hold people accountable. They don't inspire their people every day. They really try to manage people. And you can't manage another person that has a body, mind, heart, and spirit. You inspire people, you lead people, you motivate people, you get people excited about doing it, and you put that degree of personal responsibility back on them.
Beautiful. I'll make it easy. I'll read the questions that have come in. So this is from Matteo. You mentioned getting paid has 6 different ways. What are they?
Okay.
Listening is the 7th one.
Yeah. Think of getting paid like this. When you distribute your talent to the world, the world rewards you. Okay. Think of athletes, artists, entertainers. If you've ever gone to a concert and paid money to watch an entertainer perform, you are paying to watch them work. They're working. You're paying to sit and watch them work. How do you pay them? Love, appreciation, admiration, right? Referrals, reputation, money. So you get paid in multiple ways. I say love, affirmation, reputation, referrals. Okay. Sometimes self-satisfaction is a payment. And then ultimately you get paid in money. But if you distribute your talents to the world at a very high frequency, you will make a lot of money. Okay. Because money follows excellence. Money follows action. Money follows movement. When I was a high school basketball coach, I made $60,000 a year. And I worked 80 to 120 hours a week. I could make more in an hour speaking and coaching than I did in a whole month. It just took me a number of years to figure that out. What am I doing? I'm still coaching. I'm just coaching companies and adults versus kids. So think of distribution of talent to the world rewards you. If you distribute a little bit of talent, meaning you're not really prepared, you're not really that good, you have some knowledge, some skill, some desire, some confidence, but you're very low, the world's going to come to you and go, look, is that all you got, man? And if that's all you got, you get paid a little bitty amount of money. People that don't make money in our society are people that bring very low levels of energy, very low levels of experience. Okay. The people that get laid off in tough times are the people that are not generating money for the company. I would never lay a person off that was generating revenue for my company. I would only lay off somebody that was underperforming and was not generating any revenue. Okay. So just remember that. Okay.
You got 110 plus of them on this call now. Victor is in London. Is there any exercise tasks you can do on a regular basis to build your confidence long term, and things you can do quickly to boost your confidence before a big call or a meeting?
Yeah. Okay. So two different questions, two great questions. The way you build confidence long-term is through daily habits. And I want to show you mine. I wake up in the morning. First thing I do is typically get up, change my state. So I listen to something spiritual every morning. Typically for me, that's a sermon. Then I exercise at a pretty high pace. This morning it was swimming with my daughter. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I really like exercising with her in the morning. So we typically, swim 20 to 25 laps. That's kind of a warm up. And then I listen to something on business as I'm getting ready, as I'm fixing my hair, as I'm getting ready for work. And I spend a little bit of time with my wife and my daughter. Now look at what I've done. Before 7 a.m., I have fed my body physically. And I do tap out. Tap out is about 10 years old. It's a high intensity MMA style exercising, which is a lot of punching, kicking, a lot of core exercises. I do all of that, guys, by 7 a.m. When I get to my office at 8 a.m., I have already fed my mind, my body, my heart, and my spirit. My confidence is on high. My energy is up. That's the way you build confidence. Is you get in a routine and you work the muscle. Now, what if I drug out of bed, didn't get my exercise in, didn't spend time with my kid, didn't do that? I would be lethargic. I would have no confidence. My confidence has got to be greater than my prospect's lack of confidence. My confidence has got to be greater than their insecurity. And to have confidence, man, I treat myself like a world-class athlete, guys. What I eat, how I exercise, how I perform. And it's taken me a while to get there. I didn't make these decisions till I was probably 41 years old. I mean, 20 to 30, I wasn't in a world-class athlete shape. Drank too much, partied too much, goofed off too much. I was a championship coach, but I wasn't serious. I could have been 100 times better than I was. Then I made a decision to go pro. I'm going to take care of all parts of my nature. Now, when it comes to performance and a big sales, I want you to find one person that gives you a tremendous amount of confidence, whoever that person is. And before you go into a sales preparation, big sales meeting, I want you to listen to that person. I want you to walk into that meeting with confidence coming out of your ears, not arrogance, but confidence. I want you to practice your sales pitch. We actually teach you a 6-step process when you pitch your services that is based on brain science. It's based on how you get clear about your beliefs, how you articulate your value, how you show proof of concept through persuasion, how you make the ask. I actually teach people a framework so they have a high degree of confidence when they make that pitch. Too many people are not tight with their pitch. So I eliminate that confusion by helping you come up with that. We call that the explanation of services.
This is Tracy in Singapore. How can you be confident without being cocky, so without being arrogant?
Yeah, great question. Confidence is the memory of success. It is a knowing that you can create or manifest. But arrogance is when your self-appraisal is much higher than your market value. In essence, you're really not that good. You just think you're that good. And that happens a lot, okay? The way you become good, Tracy, is through practice, repetition, role play, and testing. Practice, repetition, role play, and testing. And I find that lots of people become successful and they become arrogant. I want to be successful and humble, successful with a high degree of humility, successful with I don't have all the answers, but I will work hard to find those. I want to be successful, but I'm open to anything, closed off to nothing. I never want to come across as arrogant. Although some insecure people see confident people as arrogant. Like when you look at some of the top people in the world, an insecure person looks at them and goes, oh, well, he's arrogant. I look at him and go, he's confident. Okay, he's not arrogant. It's your problem that you think he's arrogant, right? You're insecure and he's confident, so you think he's arrogant. I actually believe that confident people recognize confidence in other people. And one example to that, Tracy, I wrote a book with a very successful coach who had won 10 championships, and people constantly came to me and said, I can't believe you're writing a book with that, a-hole. I can't believe he's so arrogant. And I would say, well, I spent 3 months with him, slept in the same hotel rooms, in a bed right beside him, traveled with him on the bus, flew with him on the plane. The number one thing he has going for him is his confidence. If you take away his confidence, he's just an average coach. That's his secret weapon. And without it, that's his kryptonite. So do you want him to lose games or do you want him to win games? And people didn't understand that. Okay, so great questions.
This is from Kayan in Singapore. What do you do to tell yourself when you encounter roadblocks?
I tell myself that adversity is just a departure away from the ideal scene, meaning I tell myself it's going to be a fight. It ain't going to be easy. Like you have improper expectation when you think you're going to go through life and not meet obstacles. You have improper expectation when you think it's going to be easy to sell every day. You have improper expectation when you think it's going to go exactly the way you want it. Very seldom does things go exactly the way you envision them in your mind. So how you handle the response controls your stimulus. I have a simple mindset. It's going to be a fight. We're going to find a way to win. It's going to be a dog fight some days, but we're going to keep working until we find a way to win. And some of my greatest successes have come from some of my greatest failures. Last year, I got involved in some terrible partnerships, guys. I lost probably $500,000 to $1 million in bad deals, bad partners, people that I thought were good people that turned out to be evil people. And it was some very expensive tuition, right? It was like going to college and paying attorneys for very expensive tuition. But in essence, it taught me a lot about human nature. I began to study the laws of human nature. Why do people disappoint you? Why do good people turn bad? Why do deals that you thought were going to go through, they go cold? Like when you really study human nature, nothing will surprise you. Okay? Humans are imperfect people living in an imperfect world. So there's nothing you could do to surprise me today. I mean, nothing. Okay? And that's just through experience.
Brilliant. Dave Brown in Miami. What do you do to stay in prey drive?
Yeah. Prey drive is prevalent in animals, specifically dogs. And I'm writing a book on this right now about the activators of prey drive called Flip the Switch. And it is how you flip the switch to get to a higher frequency. Prey drive is activated through 5 or 6 key ways based on my experiences. Number one, competition. You need something to be in competition against. And you need to be, people don't like comparison. I actually like comparison. I want to compare myself to the number one guy in the world. I compare myself to Tony Robbins or Cardone or whoever is out there that is at the top of their game. I compare myself to them. I'm constantly asking, what does he have that I don't have? What can I do to beat him? Okay. So competition activates prey drive. Fear of loss activates prey drive. Okay. If you have not been motivated during this period of time, when you could be losing revenue, then you don't have a prey drive, because what should happen during this period is it should activate in you. I don't want to lose what I have. Like, I wake up every morning grateful, thankful for what I've had. I've worked 28 years of my life to have it, guys. Okay. I got a jet I fly around the country on. I don't want to lose that, because I've been on probably 3 million flights in the world, right? I mean, I don't want to lose it. I worked hard to get that. Okay. I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose what my family lives at. What was once considered a luxury to some people becomes a necessity, right? What you thought once was a luxury becomes a necessity. And so I wake up scared to death. I'll be honest with you. Scared to death every day that it ain't going to work, guys. But I use that fear as fuel. See, small time people get afraid and they contract. That means they don't do anything. Big time people see fear and they go, okay, let's go. Let's fight. Let's find a way. So that's what I use fear. That's actually my number one motivator, fear of loss. Environment. So to Simon's question about teams and leaders, environment is an activator of prey drive. You can create environments that are high prey drive, where people have high expectation. They hold each other accountable. They're pushing and challenging each other. Okay. Fourth one is exposure. Once you get exposed to a better way, you never go back to your original dimension. And the fifth one is embarrassment. And I don't embarrass people. If they're not performing at the level they're capable of, I want them to be personally embarrassed. Like, there's times I'm embarrassed. Like that day I spoke at that insurance conference and I wasn't on my A game for whatever reason. And I left there embarrassed. I'm like, man, that ain't happening again. Whatever I did coming up to that didn't work. I need to change that, because I don't want to give a performance like that again. And so these are 5 activators of prey drive. Okay. And you got to know which one activates your drive, which one flips your switch. There could be others: autonomy, mastery, purpose. Some people it's compensation, although that's not necessarily mine. All of those are activators of prey drive.
There's a lot of questions. By the way, Aaron says you're better than Cardone.
I like that.
Tim says, why prey drive? Why not predator drive? Tim, why are you called Tim and not Trevor? There's about 3 or 4 questions. They want to know what's your biggest challenge, and what did you learn from it, or what was your biggest mistake, or what was your biggest loss of confidence? You know, clearly that you've had a big challenge. What was it, and how did you learn from it? What were the biggest challenge you overcame from Darren as well? So there's a theme of that running through.
Yeah, the biggest challenge I had was losing all of my confidence at 25, and really being knocked down, and understanding that I had given my confidence up to another person. That was big. The mistakes I made last year in business partnership, without vetting people, without doing homework, without slowing down, it cost me, $500,000 to $1 million, guys. And we had a terrible accounting issue where I trusted accounting team. We couldn't find $700,000 last year. Okay. Like, we couldn't find almost $1 million of money in my company last year. And it was because we hired an accounting firm that I trusted the main person. He gave us subpar people. They jacked up and screwed up all of our billing for our customers. We didn't bill hundreds of customers for months. And we brought in a new accounting firm, and they walked in one day and said, we can't find $700,000. And I'm like, what? Did somebody steal it? Like, she's like, no, these were customers that you were coaching that never paid you. And when you take that kind of hit, $700,000 would be like me coming to you and telling you, I'm taking $700,000 from you. You don't even know it. Now, here's what my president said of my company. She said, Coach, the most impressive thing I've seen about working with you is you You worked so hard and pushed so much, you didn't even miss it. You didn't even miss $700,000. Like, it didn't even phase you. And I said, that's just the only way I know how to work, is to go get it. I focus on the process, not the outcome. The outcome takes care of itself if I focus on the process. But there were some huge knockdowns, bad partnerships. I was in not a lawsuit, but a mediation where I had to get rid of 2 business partners. I had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get rid of them. I mean, last year hit me hard. But here's the interesting thing. As I mature, I look back and I go, I'm thankful for that adversity. I'm not mad. I'm thankful. It was expensive tuition, but man, it keeps me out of bad deals now. Keeps me out of bad partnerships.
It might have been a very cheap lesson. You'll only know in time.
Yeah, one of them was a cheap lesson in comparison to what it could have been.
Exactly. Rachel Lee in Singapore, what is the common prey drive for top performers?
What I find is the common prey drive for top performers is typically a competition or fear of loss. I really think if I poll the top 5 people that I coach right now, most of them are motivated. They use fear. They invert fear. So they wake up scared that they're going to lose everything. They understand that what takes years to build up could take seconds to tear down. And because of that, they never get comfortable. They never get complacent. They never allow themselves to get in a static position. See, when you allow yourself to get in a static position is when you start losing. You lose your edge. You lose your advantage. Go back and watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan and what they did in the offseason after they got beat by the Pistons a couple of years. They didn't just keep doing the same thing. Jordan hated to lose more than he loved to win. Okay, that's a fear of loss. That's competition. Those 2 things brought out the best in him, not the worst in him. For some people, when they get pushed or pressured, they shut down. Big time performers don't shut down. They see it as a fight, and they need a fight, right? Like, I've seen a lot of people's prey drive reactivated during this period of people that were making millions and millions of dollars. But it took this external virus, this pandemic, to reawaken their prey drive. Now they're back in the fight, which is how they made millions of dollars to begin with.
I mean, this has been the quickest hour. Let's finish with this one. This is from Greg. I believe that the fear of loss is my greatest motivator. But how would you address the conscious decision of losing the battle so you can win the war? I'm passive aggressive, but hate losing anything.
Sounds like you and I are very similar, big guy. Because I have a very high D. My D is very dominant, but I also have a high I on the disc profile. So I do like people. I do like being with people, but my D is so dominant that it sometimes gets the best of me. Meaning sometimes I pick battles that I have a saying: pick battles big enough to fight, small enough to win. And sometimes I also have a saying: never wrestle with a pig. You both get muddy and the pig loves it. Right. And so in my lifetime, I have picked battles that I shouldn't have picked. I now am more mature, and I try to understand and be more aware when I'm coming across as passive aggressive. That's a dominance in you, wanting to win. So what you do is you're nice, then you're mean, then you're nice, then you're mean, then you punish people when they don't give you what you want. When you really start to mature, you begin to recognize it's really not fair to other people when I keep them off guard like this, right? If you study the 48 laws of power, he teaches you to keep people off guard, okay? He teaches you to be controversial. He teaches you to do these things. But I would tell you, if you're really trying to build steadiness in your life, you need to keep a good check on that passive aggressiveness because it confuses people.
Perry asked one more last question. What's your process for 1 year, 3 year, 10 year? Or do you focus just day to day?
I think one of the biggest things I've focused on, I don't focus on 10 years. A lot could change in 10 years. I may not want to be doing this 10 years from today. I do focus on building long-term wealth. And the way I think you build long-term wealth is you become world-class at having a primary skill. Money doesn't buy you freedom. Skills buys you freedom. The stronger your skill is, the more money you're going to make. So I focus on building long-term wealth. And the way I do that is come in every day and work the system. I come in every day and work the sales system. I try to generate enough cash that when I have all of my expenses, I have excess cash left over. I take that excess cash, I then reinvest it for my long-term wealth. And I have very specific wealth goals. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter if I'm selling coaching or real estate or whatever I choose to do. I come in every day and try to focus on working the process because nothing happens until something is sold. I can't tell you where I'll be 3 years from today or even 10 years from today. It's nice to have those goals, but I may be doing something totally different 10 years from today. So I focus on building long-term wealth through my sales ability.
Coach, on behalf of 120 odd people, I just want to say thank you. I hope you guys, I know you guys got something from it. Just remember the lines. Yeah, I mean, there was some magic in here. So success don't care what you did yesterday. Can't even do that in a southern drawl. Success don't care what you did yesterday. Confidence is the memory of success. I mean, it's just genius. You know, you get a revelation. You know if you've learned something. You know when you're growing. You know that you're better than nearly 99% of the salespeople out there, because you guys, you understand, and you know everything that Coach has said today. We've said to you a million times. He just says it far more eloquently than I do. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Yeah,
I hope we can get you in the office in Miami, Singapore, London, and get you to meet these guys in person, because I'm sure they'd like to shake your hand and give you a big hug and say thank you once the social distancing is over.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for being so coachable. Man, it does my heart good. The best thing you can give me is just your time and energy and the feedback. And thank you for the love. And I certainly appreciate you. Let's go out there and let's stay in a forward posture, right? Let's not play defense. Let's play offense. Have a great day.
Thank you, Michael.
Let's
Thank
be
you very much.
professionals.
Thank you.
Not amateurs.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. That was awesome.
Michael.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Coach Michael Burt, and the #1 book that I've written over the last couple of years that could help you during these unusual times is a book I wrote called Inside the Mind of a Monster. Now, I want to give you that book. All you have to do is text 678-506-7543, because when you text that in, I'm going to give you a copy of my book, Inside the Mind of a Monster, and it's going to show you the habits and mindsets of top producers and how they attack every single day versus play defense. Don't you want to play offense? Get this book. I'm giving it to you, and I'm telling you, I'm going to turn you into a legendary creature.